Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nazreen, thank you so much, viewers, for joining us today's webinar that is on US-Turkey standoff on the killings of Armenians in the World War I, about 106 years back. Why this matter is being taken up now, and why, like President Joe Biden has recognized it now. We will try to find out the reason behind it and try to find out the objective solutions to it and what perspectives are. And we are joined by Senator Mushaid Hussain Sayed, Chairman, Senate Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs Pakistan, and Lieutenant General retired Talat Masood Sahab, who is a geopolitical analyst, and Professor Dr. Ahmed Uysal from Istanbul, who is a professor of international relations and also run a think tank in Ankara. Thank you so much for joining. And first of all, I would request, before I request, we have seen like there are many actual genocides were committed and being committed in the recent years. Burma is one of the examples. Kashmir is also one of the examples. And we have seen in the previous years, Bosnia Herzegovina, like where Yugoslavia and what, if I keep on citing the examples, definitely will take so much of time, and if I start elaborating them, but actually they are all overlooked and nothing happened even after the French genocide that was committed in Rwanda, and we had two very intensive and reports on it, but nothing happened. Why Turkey is being targeted and framed today, and what could be the possible implications for it? And I don't know. Let's see how this being engineered against Turkey, and how if it is politically motivated, and the repercussions. And I would request Senator Mushaid Hussain Sayed, Chairman, Senate Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs Pakistan, please kick off the webinar with your deliberations.
Thank you very much. In the name of the Almighty, the Lord of all mankind, good afternoon and assalamu alaikum from Islamabad, and a special greetings to my dear friend and colleague in Islamabad, General Talat Masood Saab. My heartfelt condolences on the sad demise of your spouse or your wife, Madam. She passed away last year because of COVID. And I also want to welcome Dr. Ahmed from the Awesome Institute, and also extend our condolences on the deaths in Turkey due to coronavirus pandemic. It's a common issue of humanity, and we are trying to face it collectively, all those who are facing the scourge, which is almost all of mankind. And I'm grateful to the dynamic Mr. Munir Ahmed, who has not only dynamic, but very creative, because he comes out with initiatives which are timely, which are topical, and which have relevance in the contemporary scenario. And I thank you for inviting me to begin this very important conference. Pakistan is one of those countries which have expressed solidarity with Turkey after the statement of 24th of April by President Biden, which was, what they call Metz Yagan, the so-called Armenian Genocide Day remembrance. And Pakistan, our foreign minister talked to your foreign minister, they expressed full solidarity. And this goes without saying, because Pakistan and Turkey have a very deep, emotional, political, substantive bond extending to even before the creation of Pakistan. So we have a special relationship with Turkey. And this special relationship is also demonstrated recently during the Armenian aggression against Azerbaijan, where Pakistan and Turkey, two brotherly countries, because as they say in Turkish, Kardesh, brothers, we stood by our friends in Azerbaijan. We ensured the victory of Azerbaijan over Armenia, which was a victory of right over wrong. because Armenia is the aggressor. As you know, Nagorno-Karabakh is occupied by Armenia, which is part of Azerbaijan. And I think that the Armenian lobby, other apologists of Armenia have now tried to strike back. My basic contention on this issue is three aspects are very key. Number one, it is politically motivated. Number two, there is the issue of legality. It's dubious legality, because under the United Nations Charter, there is the UN Convention on Genocide also, and this does not meet that standard. And number three, there are double standards. So let me go the 3 points one by one. President Biden, when he was contesting the elections for the American presidency last year, had conveyed that he would accept or recognize what is called this so-called Armenian genocide. And earlier, his running mate, Kamala Harris, a senator, had also said the same thing. And this was basically to appease the Armenian lobby. The Armenian Americans are a population of about 500,000. They may not be large in numbers, but they have, their affluence is backed with influence in Washington, DC. And half of these 500,000 Armenian Americans are concentrated in 20 congressional districts of the US Congress. As a student of foreign affairs, I used to study in Washington, DC, and I was studying in Georgetown University School of Foreign Service, and I was one of the first to also get a congressional internship working with an American congressman and senators in the Washington, DC, Capitol Hill. So I know how the lobbies work, whether it's the Israel lobby or the Armenian lobby. We also now have a very active Indian lobby also. And there's also a Greek lobby and a gun lobby. So there are lobbies of special vested interests in countries also. So this is basically primarily a politically motivated decision based on electoral considerations of President Biden to beef up his constituency and also to rope in the Armenian Americans also, and also to appeal to those congressmen and others. As you know, a lot of them are in California, and Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the US House of Representatives, is also from California. So that's number one. It's a politically motivated decision. It is not a decision based on principles. It is not a decision based on a commitment to a cause. It is primarily politically motivated, number one. Number two, the use the term genocide. This term came into vogue when Professor Lemkin, a Polish professor, coined it, a Greek word and a Latin word, when it became genocide. And there was genocide committed in World War II, especially against the Jews of Europe by the Christians of Europe, the Holocaust. And everybody condemns it, whether it's 5 million or 6 million. And I've been to the Holocaust Museum in different countries, and I've also been to the concentration camps, whether it's Auschwitz in Poland or Dachau in Germany. So we have always, because Muslims had nothing to do with that, it was part of World War II, and that has been roundly condemned. So this genocide then led to the United Nations Convention on Genocide in 1948, I think it was. And there is a certain specific legal definition that the genocide means that it is a pre-planned, organized mass extermination or ethnic cleansing or elimination or erasure of a particular group of people. And that is the key thing, that it has to be a pre-planned, organized thing. Like the Holocaust was planned, and they had lists. They had very clear that the extermination of Jews who were all living in Europe or in Germany. And Europe was then occupied, most of Europe was occupied by Nazi Germany. So this announcement by President Biden, stricto sensu, under international law and the United Nations Charter, does not meet the specific requirements of the definition of genocide as enunciated, as formulated, as stated in the United Nations Charter and the UN Convention on Genocide. So since it's politically motivated, it is not based on that element, because that kind of genocide did not take place. that there was an organized, pre-planned mass extermination of a group of people. Yes, in the World War I, there were a lot of things happening on all sides. Yes, they also suffered. Armenian people also suffered. Turkish people also suffered. Other people also suffered. We lost from India, the Indian 1 million men under arms World War I, because they were part of the British Empire and the army. So this is the second point. The third point is what Mr. Munir also alluded to: double standards. You see, we can't cherry pick when it comes to genocide. We can't cherry pick when it comes to principled issues. We can't pick and choose based on political preferences or an ideological perspective or a cultural perspective. If you're Europe, you look at the world through Western eyes, and you don't see the third world or the people of color who have suffered. And Mr. Munir also had mentioned about Rwanda, for example. He had mentioned about Kashmir also, and he had mentioned the Rohingya people. Of course, the case is already in the ICJ. And let me just briefly mention some of these things. For example, I think President Erdogan, when he responded to President Biden's formulation, he said, we won't speak about the Native Americans, how they were exterminated when the European settlers came into what is now the United States of America, or what was then North America, after Christopher Columbus had discovered this continent. So that is one, it is a part of American history, the ethnic cleansing of the American Indian or the Native American population, as they call it. And we won't also go into Black Lives Matter, because that has been happening, the discrimination or the crimes. But has there been any US apology to Japan for what happened in World War II in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? After Japan had already militarily lost the war, it became a laboratory, a testing ground for dropping 2 nuclear bombs, the worst bombs, the most lethal, dangerous bombs of their period. 6th of August in Hiroshima, 9th of August, 1945 in Nagasaki. And on 15th August, Japan surrendered. So that is number one. Then when we talk of genocides or massacres, everybody remembers Sabra and Shatila, 1982 in Beirut. Under the auspices of the Israeli occupation army, led by General Ariel Sharon, who later on became Prime Minister of Israel, as the United States deemed it necessary to put that crime, the Sabra Shatila massacre, on the list which they have formulated. And that was 1982. And what about, let's not, sooner, it's in our lifetimes, all these things. Halabja massacre, 1988, March, Iran-Iraq war. Like today, Iran was seen as an enemy by the United States. The US was supporting Saddam Hussein that time. And Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons, poison gas against his own population, the Kurdish population, Halabja, against the Iranian troops. 5,000 were killed. 5,000. That was mentioned. We talk of Iraq. Let's not forget the statement of the Secretary of State of the United States, Madam Madeleine Albright, in an interview to NBC News, Leslie Stahl. She said, she was asked, don't you think the sanctions which the US has imposed via the United Nations against Iraq have resulted in stoppage of all medicine to the Iraqi people? And it has resulted in the deaths of 500,000 children and babies. You think this was worth it to put this kind of pressure politically? And she replied without batting an eyelid. Madeleine Albright, the Secretary of State of the United States, yes, it was worth it. You're talking of 500,000 people killed. 2 people mentioned about Mr. Modi, Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, the darling of America these days, because they want to contain China and use the Japan, Australia, and India, and Modi's India. The Gujarat Massacre, 1,000 Muslims were exterminated, eliminated under state patronage, the state of Gujarat, and including a member of parliament by the name of Ahsan Jafri, who was hacked to death and burnt alive in his own house, and the police never showed up. And because of that, as you remember, the visa of Modi to USA and UK was cancelled in 2005. But now, of course, things have changed politically. And let's come closer to home. We have Dr. Ahmed Hossein from the Awesome Institute, and he was in Baku recently to celebrate the recent victory on the war. Khajuri Massacre, it took place by Armenia, and it took place on 26th of February 1992, when 1,000 Azerbaijan civilians were brutally massacred in an organized way. And Munir Saab, you mentioned also about Bosnia-Herzegovina. It hurts me because I've been to Bosnia-Herzegovina. I went there in December, Christmas of 1993, and I went there with Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. And Pakistan is proud of the fact we were the first country to support the struggle of the Bosnian people for self-determination. And because of efforts of Pakistan and Turkey and other countries, Bosnia-Herzegovina is an independent country. But in July 1995, there's a town called Srebrenica. 5,000 were, or 10,000, I think the figures is still being talked about. Some people say exactly 8,392 or whatever. They were massacred under the watch of Dutch peacekeepers belonging to the United Nations peacekeeping forces. And systematically, the men were separated from the women, and then they were shot and killed. Of course, those who committed those crimes have been brought to justice at The Hague, at the International Criminal Court, and even Milosevic died in prison. But these are crimes which have been there. And don't forget that in the 80s and 90s, 31 Turkish diplomats were killed by Armenian terrorists in the different countries. They used to gun them down. So I think Turkey's position is very fair. They say, you have a charge and you should come out. Let's have a joint history commission. Let's come out with that. And this is also, Pakistan has also suffered. In 1971, we were accused of eliminating 3 million people in erstwhile East Pakistan. Please read the book by Sharmila Bose, Dead Reckoning. And she is an Indian writer from Bengal, and she's mentioned the facts. Yes, crimes were committed, mistakes were committed, a lot of people were killed, but let's get the facts right. And I think the facts are sacrosanct. And we feel that this issue is being politicized to penalize Turkey for Turkey's independent foreign policy, Turkey's stand on principled issues. We are proud of our relationship with Turkey. Turkey has stood by the people of Kashmir, occupied Kashmir. President Erdogan spoke about it. They've stood by the people of Rohingya. They've stood by the people of Palestine. They've stood by all oppressed people. And I was very proud of the fact that when the attempted coup against the democratically elected government of President Erdogan failed in 2016, we were the first to give us a resolution of solidarity and support in Pakistan's parliament and the Senate of Pakistan and the National Assembly. And then I was privileged to be the leader of the delegation from all parties, but there were 10, 11 parties. And we went to see the President of Turkey and the Speaker of the National Assembly to express our solidarity. And we had a great visit that time. So we stand with Turkey on this issue because we cannot accept double standards. We reject double standards and we reject notions that ignore the facts. And we feel that facts are sacrosanct, and we hope that Turkey's demand for a joint history commission will be accepted so that fact can be sifted from fiction. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to hearing my other colleagues, General Untitled Chapter from Pakistan and Dr. Ahmed Hossein from Turkey for today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Senator Mushahid Hussain Sayyid Sahab, for your wonderful deliberation in these and putting the matter into the historic context. Thank you. Definitely, if we have more questions, I hope you will be with us. Now, I would request Lieutenant General Retired Talat Masood Sahab for your comments initially. And then if we have questions, then definitely we will be asking. And we are receiving some questions from audience as well. Please, General sir, go ahead.
Gee, good. Thank you very much. I think the way how comprehensively Senator Mushahid Hussain has really covered the subject, I think the picture has become very clear, and that the level of prejudice that stands against the Turks is so uh, prominent and so very well projected in the sense that they have really selected him for the independent positions that Turkey has taken on many issues that has been a sore point with the European Union and with the Western world. So I think that is fundamentally the point, because raising something which is over 100 years old and trying to sort of punish Turkey for that, or to sort of demean Turkey for that, is totally unacceptable. And also not allowing Turkey to express its viewpoint in the European Union, so that a counterpoint could have really made things much more explainable to the general world. But there is so much of prejudice. I would also go along and say that there is such a general prejudice against the Muslim world today, which manifests itself in many forms. And we in Pakistan are experiencing it even today. The way that the European Union has reacted to Pakistan's condemnation of what France was doing as far as Islam was concerned, and was keeping a sort of a blind eye to the happenings or the provocations to the Muslim world or to Islam as a religion were completely being ignored. And when this was pointed out, or there were demonstrations in Pakistan, they were misconstrued, and such a strong resolution came from the European Union. So it only shows the distinct sort of a behavior of the European Union towards how they treat the Muslims, what sort of prejudice there is, and they are blind to that, but at the same time take up those issues which are about 100 years old to sort of liven up their dislike or hatred for a certain country or for Muslims at large. So I think we also have to understand that in order to enable ourselves to stand up to these European pressures, we have to build, the Muslim nations have to build themselves in such a way that they are far more independent, and that people are far more educated, their economies are more self-reliant, they're politically more stable, they have a much greater influence in the world, and not rely on the West or other countries, Russia or China, to the extent that we do. If we really develop ourselves internally and put up a strong face, both at the individual national level or collectively, then only I think our voice will be heard, and we will be able to counter this propaganda. I think it's extremely important, and in a way, it's a lesson for us. And also there is a need for unity amongst the Muslim world to counter such like threats, both psychological, political, and also the internal threats, and also the comparisons that are made by the Western world. So I think it is a general sort of a phenomena or general policy to belittle the Muslim countries, and also those countries which stand up, and a country like Turkey, which has been really standing up to American pressures, standing up to Western European countries' pressures, and also having a dispute with Greece, although Turkey is, I think, very justified in taking the position that it has taken with Greece. But all these things add up to the sort of inimical attitude that is being portrayed by the West towards Turkey, and generally, as I said, about against the Muslim world. And so I think there is a responsibility on our part to counter that, because it would not be only wise to just complain, because we know that it is our weakness that they are exploiting. So we have to build our strength and also show far greater unity. And the present level of disunity must end. And I'm glad that Saudi Arabia and Iran are moving in that direction and realizing the consequences of the split of the Muslim world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Masood. Wonderful, really. You are always very inspiring, and
Thank
you
you.
touch very objectively whatever the issue is. And now I just want to share, Mushaisa, just one thing I want to share with you and General Saab and Professor Ahmed, that I contacted several European scholars as well, and some in the region as well. No one dared to be part of the webinar. And I must say, you three experts are the very daring persons, very brave persons, who come up at the moment when your opinion was needed. And it's very well, Mushaisa, you also wonderfully elaborated, and General Saab also. And thank you very much, Professor Ahmed. Even some of the Turkish scholars also refused to talk about it. That was very strange for me.
They are afraid of Europe, sir. We are independent thinkers and academics.
No, that's great. That's great. And I'm really very encouraged to have you here. Professor Ahmed Tusal, please go ahead for your initial comment on the topic. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And as you know, we have also Westophiles, they are like very afraid of the West. Also, they are very fond of, admire the West that does all kinds of genocide, and then blame the victims. We were the victims, and Pakistan is a victim, and all Muslim world is divided and exploited. But we are blamed for their mistakes, and why we cannot convince Americans and Britain or Europeans, they are the ones that provoked the Armenians. I don't want to go into the historical details, and it is very, very obvious, very clear that there is no tradition in Ottoman history, in Muslim history, to target like a certain community, religious or ethnic community, and to exterminate this community. This is un-Islamic, un-Ottoman. Also, is not common. There is no other example. So the millet system in the Ottoman system is very much known, that all the different religions is in the academic literature, that many different religions, they live together peacefully, and this is like unprecedented. Also, when the Crusaders came, what they did in Andalusia and in many places. When they go to America, we know what they did. And at the end, we are, we in Turkish we say our forehead is pak. Yeah, I mean it's like clean. So but why? What happened? Because when the British, actually, it's very much related to the Middle East and to the Indian subcontinent, which is Pakistan is part of it. Because when the British colonized the Indian subcontinent, they need a direct route to India, and they used Egypt as a gateway, as a cross or shorter way to you actually. So after they invaded Egypt, this is like a historical also interpretation. They changed their policy. Before that, they were trying to support Ottoman Empire as a buffer zone against Russia. But after they get what they want, they invaded Indian subcontinent, and then they invaded Egypt in 1882, then they shift their foreign policy toward dismantling or destroying the Ottoman Empire. So they used Armenians as the major tool, but they also used other tools, anything that they can get to provoke the minorities, to provoke Arab nationalists, to provoke even the Arab Caliphate supporters, some, like Sharif Hussein and others who think that Caliphate should be from Arabs, and even Ittihad Taraqi, which caused the headache that toppled the Sultan Abdul Hamid. They supported that. I studied in Egypt. I did research, and I found all these evidences that they provided propaganda machine and all this. And there is a book by those who read Arabic. One of the Egyptian intellectual, Mustafa Kamil, he wrote on al-Mas'ala al-Sharqiyya, the Eastern question, which means East for them was at that time the Ottoman Empire. So they were asking, what should we do with the East? Which East means like Ottoman Empire. Then when Ottoman Empire collapsed, it became the Middle East, because you have Far East, which is India and Pakistan and China, then Near East, which is Eastern Europe, and this is Eastern question became Middle East question, which is still a question and very problematic today. And they did not solve any problem. They bring more chaos and more destruction. But what happened with the Armenians, this intellectual Mustafa Kamil, the Arabic version is Al-Mas'ala Al-Sharqiyya, present, you can find it online. He says Armenians were the major tool for the British, especially after they worked hard to convert them to Protestantism. That's interesting, because earlier provocations and rebellions and terror attacks by the Armenians came from Protestant Armenians, where the American and British schools, they were operating actively, which is Robert College and all this. So, the book is very interesting and very much giving the perspective to understand what happened that time and what happened even today. So he warned Armenians six years before the Ottoman, before the First World War. He said, and we pretty much appreciate the Pakistani and Indian and other Muslims supporting the Ottoman Empire during the First World War, even though British used you as soldier in their empire, we don't forget the support. And I always say this is like a financial support. Wars depend on money also, financing your weapons or bullets. If you cannot find bullet, you can fall prey to the colonizer or to the enemy. And these supports were very much instrumental even after the Atatürk time. This is, very much appreciated. I even suggested we need to the government publicly, of course, not officially. We said, they even found a bank with the money coming from Indian subcontinent. I said, this bank is very, very big now, with the extra money that came from Pakistan and India and Bangladesh, all these brothers. And I am offering that there should be a special fund for scholarship as a payback, as a appreciation. I'm still repeating this, but we are very appreciative of our brotherly support. And without money, you can fall a prey and you can be like destroyed like others. But anyway, we survived. So this perspective is very much important, because they use Armenia. If you go back, they use Armenians inside the Ottoman Empire as two things. One is to destroy create instability and chaos and everything. But other aspect is very much important, where Senator Mishahid, he pointed out, to discredit the Muslims, the Ottoman Empire in the West. So they provoked these guys, and then they said Ottoman Empire or Muslims are butchering the Christians in the West, which is still this anti-Islamic attitude is present for a long time, but it's still present against the Turks, against Muslims, Pakistanis, where you see it in Kashmir and other places. Nobody wants to hear hear it. And also today with the Turkish government also, when you get independent and you go your own way, you choose your own decisions, they don't like it. They are used to having Turkey as they always saying yes sir, yes sir. Now Turkey is not saying yes sir. So when the Protestant Armenians first rebelled, then joined them the Orthodox, which were like very loyal. They found very good positions in the Ottoman state, in the bureaucracy. They dealt with the business, and they had very good, rich population, despite the poverty of Muslims and Turkish population maybe. And they also attacked in eastern Turkey. They attacked the Kurdish communities, and they say there are, I'm a sociologist also, but I am pretty much into Middle Eastern affairs now. I'm a sociologist. You need to, any action, you need to find the outcome. They say there are genocides, there are like mass killings and stuff. I mean, any genocide, you should have mass graves. And Turkey said, please come and see what happened. And we have researched everything, and they cannot spot this place. 100 people were buried from them. They cannot show that. But any mass graves that are found, you can tell from the way they are buried. You can tell if it is a Muslim grave or non-Muslim grave. And all of the mass graves were found were Muslim mass graves. So the logic is the opposite, but it is always they use the logic in the opposite direction, and we cannot convince. Of course, we should try hard to convince the Western public opinion and scholarly knowledge and everything, but we cannot convince the culprits, the responsible people, our countries like Britain and America. We cannot convince them that we did not do it, because they are the one they know who did it, and they know how it happened. They know what they meant and what they are targeting. So we don't worry about them, but of course we do our best to convince international community and right-minded people, or insaf in Turkish or in Arabic we say, there should be like some people with insaf, or kind of a wise and righteous people, that we don't have anything, even like in any genocide like Hitler, they had a very much hatred against Jews, which is like very public, and the Muslims don't carry that. Still today we don't carry like a hatred toward Armenians or Greeks, but we see the opposite. They always, one eye is in Turkey. They see anything anything good happen to Turkey, they see this is like bad for them. We don't see like that. We are happy, and Muslims also, and I know Pakistan is the same. We don't dive, or we don't get stuck in the past. We normally, we believe in Allah, we believe in Qadar, we believe in the destiny. We want to move forward. We don't want to victimize ourselves for a long time. But one question I should mention also, the diaspora, Armenian diaspora, is doing all these provocations for themselves. Why? Because they are losing. They are a minority in Europe, they are a minority in US. And as I said, most of them also Protestant Armenians, etc. The Catholics go to France, and they are mixing with the native population. So they are being assimilated in the West, okay, in America and in Europe. So to prevent this, the only thing in their hand is like Armenian genocide claim. So they are doing this, they are provoking the Armenians. Even the Armenians in Armenia are suffering from that, because they want to make peace with, some of them at least, with Turkey and Azerbaijan, and live a normal life. But they give, money, and they dominate the domestic politics in Armenia also. They close all the doors for communication and dialogue and other things. And they even have a claim on Turkish eastern provinces. Like you have Kashmir, problem. The Armenians, they have eyes on the Ararat mountain. They say in the constitution, and Azerbaijani president said, they have this dilemma. I mean, this perspective or these ambitions to divide Turkey. And I visited Karabakh also. They are very appreciative of the Azerbaijani support and both diplomatic and popular support for the Karabakh reconquest. I think it is a fatih. It is very obvious fatih because you recover Muslim territories from non-Muslims, and it is very obvious victory and fatih. But they are very appreciative of the Pakistani support, and I see Pakistani and Turkish flags all over. So I mean, I'm mixing with the past and today because it is very relevant for all of us. And at the end, the Armenian diaspora use this to make themselves, to keep their identity, to keep their solidarity. Otherwise, everybody will be like American and ordinary French and others. So they are exploiting this. They are not even allowing Armenians to get into a dialogue with the Turkish side, Azerbaijani side, and they suffered. And the last victory by the Karabakh, I've been there, and they destroyed the whole mosques. They destroyed the whole houses. They sold the windows and stuff. They didn't even have enough population to populate these territories. Honestly, in Karabakh, they did not have enough people to run these places like villages, etc. It was empty, and they claim this is theirs, and they claim they want to take eastern part of Turkey. So I think the Karabakh victory, with their courage, Turkey's support, Pakistani support, it became a good slap on their face for the Armenians. And so then America, during that time, because Pakistan also legally and humanly are in just cause, America couldn't say anything. And some Azerbaijani scholars, they were complaining America didn't support us. I told them, are you serious? I mean, America, if they are gonna support or if they are gonna say anything, they will say bad. I mean, I said to them, don't be crazy. In a way, America will not give you anything free or anything just because we know them. But they said we have good relations and stuff. They expect America to support them. I said, no news is good news. I mean, at least they didn't say anything. If they would say anything, they would say bad and would hurt you. But because they had legal ground and they have a good army, they had good support and also people support. So Biden is revenging this victory. Try to pressure Turkey more, squeeze Turkey more. As a conclusion, Turkey will not be intimidated by these. Turkey came a long way to gain its independence from Western hegemony, and unfortunately, after we lost the First World War, we kind of not surrendered, but our elites choose to go with them, but we did not gain much from this kind of dependency. Now we have independence, independent policy. Not necessarily we fight with them, we can work with them, but now we are balancing our relations with the East and West, and also North and South. Turkey is in a place, very good place to work with all of them together if they like it. Russia understand Turkey is a regional power like 5 years ago. They are now cooperating very well, but America, I think, will take more time. I think Europeans began to understand Turkey is a partner, is a strong country, it doesn't work with intimidation. Even Biden decision, actually, I think it hurt more Americans now because the Turkish public get very much against America. Some people like you mentioned, says Munir, that some scholars maybe Western minded, but they even realize that America doesn't want or doesn't wish good things for Turkey. So at the end, we know their voices are becoming weaker, and Turkish people are. Alhamdulillah, we gain our confidence back, and we honestly we want peace in the region, but we want equal and fair treatment, not be intimidated. do this and go that, or showing fingers. We don't like that. And I think it's inspiration for everybody, for Azerbaijan, for our brothers in Kashmir and Pakistan, in Africa even. Muslims are in victim position, but they are blamed for their suffering. And this is one example. I don't want to take too long, but who is America that they want to show who is right, who is wrong in history? As Senator Mishahid mentioned, America has even his own massacres. How many people died in Iraq? How many people died? He mentioned the fighting. I mean, the 500,000 children. The American journalist asking, 500,000 children died. She says even this is bigger than Hiroshima victims. She said, Albright said, this was worth it. This is like a shameless attitude that, killing children, even without war. So, imagine how many people died after the war in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Somalia, and any place that America, entered so far, intervened. We don't see any stability, any kind of just system, operating system, and we are all suffering. So we are not gonna accept these accusations and intimidations. We'll be working with anybody who wants to work with them. We don't want problems, but we will not be backing down from our right cause. So thank you again for inviting me, and for also valuable contributions by our previous speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Professor Dr. Ahmad Usal from Orsam, Ankara. And I'm grateful for your wonderful deliberations. And now, before I move to the second round of questions, Nasir Gilani, the former Chief Water and Development with Planning Commission of Pakistan, has raised a hand to ask a question. Gilani Sahab, do you have any question? Please ask. Gilani Sahab, unmute your mic, please. Gilani Sahab, okay, please.
I'm very thankful to Your Honor and Professor Ahmed. My submission is only two suggestions. One is a counter narrative. I understand this is a false narrative being promoted by vested interest from US and West, and they are using some culprit Armenians and some innocent Armenians and making a case which is a false case. But what we need is a counter narrative. For example, in Bangladesh, there was a lot of stories that thousands and millions of women raped and killed. And once another story was written by a professor, a book was published. So I suggest that a book should be published on the facts as a counter narrative, and a short story video film also should be produced on that. This can help a lot in a counter narrative. And also we have to tell our own people that this is a false propaganda and we do not believe in that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nasir Gilani Sahab. This was Mushahid Hussain Sayyid Sahab. मैं इसी पे आपसे बात करना चाह रहा था. Mushahid Hussain Sayyid Sahab, the same question I was coming up to you with was like, what could be the mechanisms of developing a counter narrative against this standoff? This was my question. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think I'm very grateful to Nasir Gilani Sahab for a very relevant question. And my dear brother from Turkey, Dr. Ahmad Osel, very clearly put the context, and also Jalal Sahab, of course. I think that when we talk about counter narrative, I'm sorry to say, Muslims or Muslim regimes, there is a very wide gap, a yawning chasm, if you will, between the Muslim street and the Muslim elite. And it is our failure. We have money, we have affluence without influence. You see the Arabs, you see the billionaires, they can buy billion-dollar paintings, they have billion-dollar yachts, billion-dollar residences in London or all the Paris or wherever they have these big mansions. But in this battle of ideas, we are at the receiving end. Let me give you one example as a Pakistani. Pakistan itself suffered after the creation of Pakistan because the narrative was stolen by India, especially Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who was a great charmer and who charmed the West with his style and everything. Today, after so many years, there's vindication. In India, you could not even appreciate or praise the Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. You would lose your job. Advani did it in Pakistan, he lost his job. It was almost a crime. In Pakistan, we can even talk of positively of Mr. Gandhi, Mr. Nehru, other Indian leaders, because we have to be honest and fair. So this, I think, has been a problem, that it is a failure, and I put it to our lack of competence. The Urdu word is nalaiki, but I would say incompetence, and also the failure to fashion together that narrative. For example, on the Armenian issue, this is an issue which is a collective issue for the OIC. Why can't the OIC have a history archives department which can set the record straight, which can have professors, people who, and we have some of the brightest women and men in the Muslim countries, in other countries, in the diaspora. There was talk of that. So I think we should do that. And I remember as a student, I went to AIPAC, AIPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee. I was doing a research on the Jewish lobby and American foreign policy. I asked them, I said, today, if somebody issues a statement, how long will it take you to respond? That gentleman said, we can produce a good research paper, and this is 30 years ago. We can produce a good research paper in 4 hours. In 4 hours to respond, to rebut, to retaliate. So this is, I think, the battle of ideas we have been losing because of our own failure. And I think we have to put it together. There was a good idea given by President Erdogan along with our Prime Minister and the Prime Minister of Malaysia 2 years ago, but then it was, I think, undermined or sabotaged. What happened? That we should have a common narrative through the media. And you remember there was a conference in Kuala Lumpur, but Pakistan backed off under pressure. But President Erdogan and Prime Minister Mahathir were in that. So I think that effort has to be made and it has to be redone. And I feel that in the United States of America, in my view, there is a certain receptivity. America is all about lobbies. There's also a law there called the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Anybody who works for a foreign country can register as a foreign agent legally. So I think that it's a marketplace for ideas, for selling your products meaning your countries, your or whatever issue you're selling. We should do that. And I think we should be more organized. And to our Turkish brother, they have TRT World, mashallah. I listen to that. They have good programs. I think the time has come to put it together because we can always be cribbing and whining. Oh, they're doing this. We know that. And I think General Talat Masood hit the nail on the head about Muslims and about EU. When I met President Erdogan, when I was leading the delegation, the meeting was supposed to be for half an hour. It went on for 90 minutes. And I said, President Erdogan, we became good friends. I said, I want to tell you a couple of things. He said, please, his cabinet was there also and my team was there. I said, the highest paid person in Hollywood is the idea man or idea woman. And they give you ideas and they listen. I said, I just want to say 2 things. Number 1, Mr. President, don't waste your time in the EU. The European Union is a Christian club. They will never accept Turkey, not because of any so-called technical reasons or economy, because you are Muslim. And secondly, I said, you should make good friends with 2 leaders in the world. He said, which ones? I said, President Putin of Russia and President Xi Jinping. He didn't say about Putin. He said, why Xi Jinping? I said, Pakistan is your best friend of Turkey. And China is our best friend also. So, and we are having the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor as part of the Belt and Road Initiative. And it starts from Gwadar and goes to Gilgit into Xinjiang, where majority of people speak the Turkish language, Uyghurs. So, and then he also expressed interest in the Belt and Road Initiative. I think the sum total of what I want to say is that we have to put our minds and thoughts together. And Dr. Ahmed, I would say that forget the governments. Governments are too busy trying to survive and do other things. Look at General Talat Masood. He is a thinking general, and I've known him for the last 3 decades, and he's ageless and full of vitality, with fire in his belly always. And we have from London, Hamza Azhar Salam, who runs he's the editor of the Pakistan Dailies, which is the leading blogging blogger from the diaspora, as well as from Lahore to London. I would say that he's dominating in the ideas. So I think let's put these to Munir Sahib, yourself also. You are also on the core team, and others, I'm sure, who would be listening or being participating. The think tanks can do it. And it's a battle of ideas. It doesn't cost money. Money, yes, to some extent, but mostly it's about putting the minds together and organizing this. So I think that Awesome Institute should take the initiative. We are ready to respond, and Munir Sahib has given a platform today on a very important issue, because it links up with Kashmir, it links up with Rohingya, it links up with Palestine. All of us separately or together will face these issues sooner or later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we go for another round of questions, I had a talk with Anwar Iqbal, very seasoned and very well-informed journalist who lives in America and works for Dawn in Washington.
My former colleague in the Muslim. He was working with me.
And,
yes.
and he's a wonderful journalist. He's a wonderful journalist.
Well,
And
he
we
works for
had
Dawn now, and he's full of ideas.
And we had a conversation in Urdu last night. That was about DT and Daily News Short. Let's have a little bit of Urdu conversation with Anwar Iqbal. And I will share my screen and the video that I have. And then I will a little bit translate it.
Please translate for Dr. Ahmed what you're saying.
Definitely.
Urdu is a Turkish word. Urdu is a Turkish word, but still translate the Urdu.
Fine, but let's have Anwar Iqbal's point.
Dr. Munir, let me just one sentence. You know, if we lived 100 years ago, we would understand each other. You know, intellectuals, Pakistan, they would understand each other.
Yeah,
correct.
So they're a little bit difficult, yes.
Times have changed.
But the language of heart is there, so we
yes, absolutely. Anwar Iqbal साहब yes,
Anwar Iqbal ज्वाइन किया है अनवर इकबाल साहब सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट वॉशिंगटन से। और आप जानते हैं कि 24 अप्रैल को अमेरिकी सदर जो बाइडेन ने एक बयान दिया जिसमें उन्होंने कहा कि आर्मीनिया की जेनोसाइड हुई थी 1915 में। ऑटोमन एम्पायर जब वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 हो रही थी तो तुर्की जब लड़ रहा था रूस के खिलाफ, तो उसके अंदर बहुत सारे आर्मीनियन भी मारे गए थे और ऑटोमन एम्पायर के जो सिपाही थे उनका भी बहुत नुकसान हुआ था। लेकिन 105 साल के बाद, 106 साल के बाद जो है सदर बाइडेन को ये आर्मीनियंस की जो वहां पे हलाकतें हुई थी उसको जेनोसाइड करार देने की क्या जरूरत पेश आई, इसके ऊपर हम बात करेंगे। अनवर इकबाल साहब, ये इस बयान देने की 106 साल के बाद क्या जरूरत पेश आ गई?
असल में मुनीर साहब, बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, बात यह है कि हम लोग जो है ना, हम साफी हैं और हमें जाहिर है हमारा प्रोफेशन है, हमारी रिक्वायरमेंट है प्रोफेशन की कि हम हेडलाइन से फोकस करते हैं, ये चीजें हो जाती हैं, फिर पता चलता है कि बड़ी खबर आ गई, बड़ी खबर हो गई। लेकिन अंदर अंदर जो से कहते हैं ना, जो वेव्स होती हैं अंदर जो चल रही होती है, अंडर करंट्स जो है, अंडर करंट्स पे हमारी नजर नहीं होती। So this has been a constant issue in the United States. I mean, अमेरिका में जो आर्मीनियन कम्युनिटी है वो बहुत मजबूत है, उनके कांग्रेसमैन हैं, उनके सेनेटर्स हैं, उनके एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में लोग बैठे हुए हैं, उनके फौज में लोग हैं, उनकी सैये में लोग हैं। उनकी एक हैसियत है कि क्रिश्चियन, वाइट क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी के तौर पे अमेरिका में। फिर अमेरिका के ताल्लुकात हैं आर्मीनिया से, आर्मीनिया के मामला में अमेरिका इन्वॉल्व रहा है, मदद करता रहा है। तो एक बड़ा तवील ये मुतालबा अमेरिका में कभी ख़त्म नहीं हुआ, जैसा यूरोप में भी नहीं हुआ, यूरोप के कई ममालिक इसको रिकग्नाइज करते हैं जेनोसाइड, उसी तरह वहाँ भी, यहाँ भी इसको मुतालबा था कि इसको एज ए जेनोसाइड रिकग्नाइज किया जाए। अच्छा, फिर आपको पता है कि यूरोप के जो लोग हैं, जो अमेरिका के लोग हैं, वो भी यूरोप से आए हैं, उनकी हिस्ट्री है ऑटोमन एम्पायर के हवाले से, और ऑटोमन एम्पायर को यूरोप में अच्छी नजरों से कभी भी नहीं देखा गया, क्योंकि उन्होंने यूरोप पे, जिससे ज्यादा यूरोप में ऑस्ट्रेलिया तक उनकी हुकूमत थी और उसकी रिजेंटमेंट आज तक मौजूद है। بیلکنس کے لوگ ملے, آپ کو آسٹریلیا کے لوگ ملے, ایون جرمن ہوں ان میں بھی, اور برٹش ہیں ان میں بھی. آپ کو لنڈن میں پبس کے نام ملیں گے, ملکا ہوا ٹرکس ہے, ہیرسن سائڈ, تو وہاں لوگ جاتے رہے ہیں, لڑتے رہے ہیں, اور کبھی بھی ٹرکی کو اچھی پازیٹیو نظر سے ویسٹ پہ نہیں دیکھا گیا. یہ تو اس کا بیک گراؤنڈ ہے.
اچھا, میں یہاں پہ یہ میں جاننا چاہتا ہوں, ابھی آپ نے دو الفاظ استعمال کیے, اس کی ذرا ہم تھوڑی سی اس کو وضاحت کر لیں تو پھر آگے کو چلتے ہیں. ایک آپ نے کہا کہ امریکہ کے آرمینیا کے ساتھ بہت پرانے تعلقات ہیں اور یہ ایک مستقل ایک بحث چل رہی تھی جس کے بعد یہ
مطالبہ تھا, کام ہوتا ہے, دفتر بنے ہوئے.
لیکن جو ترکی ہے وہ تو نیٹو الائی بھی ہے.
میں اس کی طرف آ رہا ہوں. ایک تو آپ ذہن میں رکھیں کہ عوامی پریشر ہے, ان کے دفتر بنے ہوئے ہیں, کام کرتے ہیں. پھر یہاں جو مذہبی تنظیمیں ہیں, خاص طور پہ عیسائی تنظیمیں, آپ کو پتہ ہے کہ امریکہ میں مذہبی تنظیمیں بہت مضبوط ہیں, اور آپ کو یہاں جو بھی صدر ہو یا جو بھی ہو, ان کو سب سے زیادہ ووٹ بھی پڑتے ہیں ساؤتھ سے. ساؤتھ میں ووٹنگ زیادہ ہوتی ہے, اور ویسٹ کوسٹ اور وہ جو ہے ساؤتھ مڈ ویسٹ وغیرہ پورا ملا لیں تو بہت بڑا علاقہ ہو جاتا ہے. کرے آبادی زیادہ ہے مڈ ویسٹ ایسٹ کوسٹ میں, ویسٹ کوسٹ میں, اس کی وجہ سے ان کے کانگریسمین وغیرہ زیادہ ہیں. لیکن امریکہ صدارتی انتخابات میں جن کا جو الیکٹرل کالج سسٹم ہے, اس کی وجہ سے ساؤتھ کا اور مڈ ویسٹ کا بڑا انفلوئنس ہے. تو ان علاقوں میں مذہبی تنظیموں کا بڑا انفلوئنس ہے, اور وہ ساری مذہبی تنظیمیں آرمینینس کو سپورٹ کرتی ہیں. تو یہ کبھی بھی یہ پریشر ایز نہیں ہوا تھا. ہوتا کیا تھا کہ ایک تو سوویت یونین کی وجہ سے بہت بڑی اہمیت تھی ٹرکی کی, سوویت یونین ٹوٹ گیا. دوسرا یہ تھا کہ ٹرکی کی ابھی ہے نیٹو الائی ہے, اور کی نیٹو الائی تھا. تو امریکہ چاہتا ہے, اور ابھی امریکہ میں یہ خواہش ہے کہ ٹرکی اس کے سائڈ رہے, اور میں خیال ٹرکی بھی چاہتا ہے کہ نیٹو میں موجود رہے, یورپین یونین میں موجود رہے. تو وہ اس حد تک امریکہ ٹرکی کو ساتھ لے کے چلنا چاہتا ہے. مگر ہوا یہ ہے کہ جو صدر اردگان ہیں, ان کی پالیسی سے امریکہ میں بہت اختلاف رہا ہے. ایون ٹرمپ انتظامیہ نے بھی تھوڑے بہت بیان دیے تھے ان کی پالیسی کے حوالے سے. ڈیموکریٹس مسلسل کہتے رہتے کہ یہ پالیسی غلط نہیں ہے, صحیح نہیں ہے, غلط ہے. خاص طور پہ وہ یہ چاہتے, امریکہ میں یہ فیلنگ ہے کہ ٹرکی کو دوسری جنگ عظیم کے بعد ٹرکی نے اپنا الائنس بنایا تھا ویسٹ کے ساتھ, اور وہ ٹرکی اپنے آپ کو قریب ترین لا رہا تھا معاشی طور پہ, ثقافتی طور پہ, معاشی طور پہ یورپ کے, اور وہ آہستہ آہستہ یورپ جیسا بنتا جا رہا تھا. تو ٹرکی کو ایک یورپین تہذیب والے ملک کی حیثیت سے اس کی پذیرائی تھی مغرب میں اور امریکہ میں بھی. لیکن صدر اردگان نے ٹرکی کا جو وہ تشخص تھا, جو آئیڈینٹی تھی, اس کو چینج کرنے کی کوشش کی ہے, اور وہ اسلامی دنیا کی طرف اور مڈل ایسٹ کی طرف زیادہ قریب لے جانے کی کوشش کرتے رہے. اس بات کو بھی ٹرکی یہاں بہت ناپسند کیا گیا ہے امریکہ میں اور یورپ میں. اور میں سمجھتا ہوں کہ یہ جو ریکگنیشن ہے وہ پہلا قدم ہے, اور مزید پریشر آئے گا ٹرکش گورنمنٹ پر اس بات کے حوالے سے کہ وہ اپنی پالیسی چینج کرے, اور وہ جو ہے دوبارہ جس طرح پہلے تھا کہ ایک مغربی تہذیب کو فالو کرنے والے ملک کی حیثیت سے اپنی وہ جو شناخت ہے وہ ریسٹور کرے.
Thank you very much for this was he was Anwar Iqbal, senior journalist from Washington, and giving the perspective that American government has to go for the genocide, declaring it genocide. And that is very clear that Anwar Iqbal's two things mentioned after the explaining the perspective of this decision, that one, Sadr Urduan is propagating more unity among Islamic countries, and inclined more towards Arabic and Muslim countries, and also propagating Islamic values in Turkey, and that is mostly disliked by the Europeans and the Christian community, that is mostly propagated by their religious quarters in Europe and America, and they have a very influential background in the American governments, and they have their senators and others, they have very political influence over there. And that is basically politically influenced, as Senator Mushahid Hussain Sayyidza mentioned, that it is politically motivated. Basically, it is politically motivated. And Anwar Iqbal mentioned one thing more, that this pressure will be, enhanced through different tactics, because Europe and America wants more westernized Turkey, instead of leading Islamic values, propagating unity among. So this was the basic crux. And he also mentioned that America and NATO wants Turkey on their part. It means like not on try to lead the Muslim countries and propagate Islamic values and traditions all around. So, General Talal Sahab, giving this situation that has explained by Anwar Iqbal, what do you think, as Mushahid Hussain Sayyidza also mentioned about counter-narrative mechanism using media and very forceful, as a forceful tool? General Sahab, what do you say?
Well, I think it is very important that the Muslim countries must project their viewpoint in America and in European countries, which are very important, because, your image is very important. It's one of the most important things that changes the perception about a country, about a group of countries. So I think Pakistan and the Muslim countries haven't done enough. And I think we also need to change our internal policies and also try to be a part of the democratic world. I think we should look inwards as well as to what are the weaknesses. And unless we overcome these weaknesses, our efforts will be superficial. If we try to sort of say that, well, we want to influence the Western world, we don't have, we don't have production capability. We don't have technology. We don't have education. We don't have, democracy. So it's very difficult to sort of influence the world when you have such weaknesses. You can't just influence the world on all, or you can't influence the world only on your geostrategic position. If you want to leverage your geostrategic position, you need to sort of have those other elements of power. Otherwise, you will never be able to influence the world. So I think we must move away from just lip service to something more concrete. And this is the message that I want to give, that Pakistanis and the Muslim world need to understand that unless they develop themselves at the individual level, at the institutional level, at the national level, we will never be able to influence the world, and it will be just lip service.
Okay, thank you, General Saab. Now, I would request Professor Dr. Ahmed Salsa. Please, your take on the perspective that Anwar Iqbal Saab has mentioned about, I think that is the American point of view that he presented. Please go ahead.
Yes, I understand. We have to try more, and we have to pay more effort and also attention, because they are still superpower. They have also some lobbies, and but all of the lobbies, if you just mention a couple of lobbies, they don't fit our interests. Why? We have Jewish lobby against Turkey. You have Greek lobby against Turkey. You have Armenian lobby against Turkey. You have arms lobby, interesting, war lobby that against Turkey, because Turkey wants to end the crisis and the fighting in the Middle East, but the war lobby or arms lobby are trying to provoke these wars between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and in Yemen, in Syria and others, So as a superpower, and we are the underdog. We are the, you know, coming from below, and we are kind of not happy with the current global affairs. We are kind of demanding more rights for Muslims, more rights for the you know, Africans, for you know, other victimized, other oppressed people. I mean, we tried not. I mean, we are not forcing, but we demand this for ourselves and for Pakistan, for other people, like Karabakh, Azerbaijan. You know, they stole their land and they don't want to give it back. And what should we do? And wait for them to solve this problem. We have Minsk group, for example, waited 30 years, and America and France are on top of this commission and didn't do anything. And when they do say something, they say the opposite. You know, see the French parliament. So anyway, we understand there is a you know, unavoidable you know, competition, but of course we are you know, medium-sized power. We don't also be over ambitious or over enthusiastic. So we need to be rational, and we are trying to do that. But unfortunately, these lobbies, you know, they are working against Turkey, against Muslims, not only Turkey, against Muslims so bad that, you know, sometimes your voice is not heard. Our voice is there. I mean, now you have free internet, you have English channel, you have all these, but as you mentioned, they have so much propaganda, as Munir said, you know, scholars even are afraid to talk. You know, they know if they talk, they'll say, they will annoy some people in the West or the media or the lobbies, etc. But this is the case. We have to work hard. In basketball or in football, there is a referee, but a good player should work despite, and referee is with them. Sometimes even you know, the spectators are with them, or maybe split. We should work with you know, we should play our game despite maybe the bad intention of the referee, but we know a good part of spectators are, you know, conscious people, and we have to work anyway. But I mean, we over complaining about, you know, American actions and European actions also doesn't solve our problem. This is the nature of politics. So we understand and we are trying hard, but I mean, Obama promised genocide, recognition of this so-called genocide. He didn't do it. And until last 2-3 days, nobody expected Biden to say anything like that. But I think there are something in internal American politics, especially this Kamala Harris, and Biden is very old and he is now, you know, sleeping, and they are even trying to keep him away from the media. You know, they are very worried. All of his statements come either, you know, very controlled setting. So I mean, I think these, of course, even this is also relevant for anybody in Pakistan. This void in American politics also will be critical in the coming days, because, you know, Kamala Harris and also the institutions and lobbies will be more effective in American policies. When president, he combine all of them and he make his independent decision, like Trump or Obama or others. But if the president is weak himself, which is, I mean, it looks obvious with Biden, so these lobbies will be more effective, and we as he mentioned, we need to focus on, you know, counter the lobby propaganda and everything. But we know our job is not easy. Also, one part of it, America is also one of the guilty parts that provoked Armenians, and they know they what happened. They don't want to admit it because they are part of the problem. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Ahmed Tusalsa. Now, I would request Senator Mushahid Hussain Sayyid Saab to conclude the webinar, and with the question that you mentioned about mobilizing and you know, initiating something from OIC and the Muslim countries, and we have seen OIC as a very dead horse for long. And we have to shake it, you know, a lot to even have one movement from OIC in the given context. So you think like OIC would be how we can pursue and mobilize OIC. And secondly, you are very, very active part of SCO as well. And Mushai Saab, do you think like if SCO could be mobilized in a way for a justice, for a just behavior from US and other countries on it? My question has two parts, OIC and SCO. And with concluding remarks, please.
Oh, thank you very much. I think it's been a very intellectually stimulating and vibrant webinar with participation from Islamabad and Ankara, especially, and also the Washington input that you provided. I just want to mention, for example, they said nothing can be done. Let's say you 5, 6, 7 heads of government or heads of state wrote a joint letter. Pakistan, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Iran, and we can rope in Malaysia or some other, Indonesia. And they say that, Mr. President, to Biden, what you have done is wrong. And you have hurt our sentiments. And we feel that this has caused a gap between the public opinion of the US and Pakistan. It makes a difference. It has to be done collectively, not President Erdogan alone. It has to be. And remember, it's all about interests. Why don't they speak up about other lobbies or other countries? Because their interests are linked with those countries. American interests are linked with certain countries, then they will be silent on those countries. Look at now, Saudi Arabia, after the exit of Trump, is now reaching out to Turkey, is reaching out to Iran, is reaching out to even Pakistan. So see, because they know that with Trump, their friend, gone, they need friends in the region. So it's all about interest. I think minds should be put together. I am willing to prepare a paper. As I said, the highest paid person in Hollywood is the idea man or idea woman. We'll do it free of charge because we are brothers. And I think let's do it. It's not about money, it's about minds. I can prepare a 3-pager for you, Dr. Ahmed Oysel, and with the help of the people who are here, I'll pick the brains of General Talat Masood, who is a man who is a democratic, he's a Jamhuri General, he's a thinking general, he is a very vibrant, mashallah, and a lot of ideas. Marine Elai Saiba aayi hai Karachi se. Welcome, aapne to, aur Nasir Gilani sahab ne bade important questions puche hain. Hamza Azhar Salam is a young rising star in the Pakistani diaspora, as I said, from Lahore to London. So I think that collectively these minds can put together. We'll prepare a paper for you to, if you feel that you need this paper, we can do that. And Hamza Saab, Azhar Salam Saab, you are a good note taker also. Please do the
Sure, we need that, sir.
Yes, yes. And
notes right now as
revert back to me. And then we'll prepare a 3-pager. What is to be done and how to do it. We all know what is to be done. What is to be done, we have to give a narrative, present a perspective. How to do it. Kya karna hai, kaise karna. That we have to do it. And I think it is doable. I appeal to General Talat Masood, to Marine Lai Saiba, to Nasir Gilani Saab, Nahuri Saab, please give your ideas. And Munir Saab, you coordinate this effort. You collect the ideas and you send them to me. And before you get the paper. Marine Saiba, आप कुछ कहना चाहती हैं? Do you want to say something?
कहना चाह रही हूँ कि can we have your email so that we can
yes.
Share our
Munir Saab,
ideas.
please give my contact numbers to all the
sure,
in Karachi. And we need the input. And Ahmed Oysel Saab, we are joggers, let's get cracking. Enough of this thing. And Lee should take it forward. This is a changing world. The balance of economic political power is shifting from the west to the east. It's the Asian century. And America is trying very hard to catch up with China, but they are a declining power. They have lost it out. Look at the way they have seen the elections. And you can see it's a house divided. Yes, they still have military power. But that military power is the paper tiger, as Chairman Mao would say. They have lost the war in Afghanistan. They're dependent on Pakistan for you as NATO member, you have said you will buy the S-400. India has also bought the S-400 missiles, but they are not being given the pressure which Turkey is under pressure. Why is it that Turkey's purchase of S-400 missiles from Russia rankles, while India's purchase of the same missile from Russia does not rankle with Washington? Why are these double standards? For example, just because some are Muslim, some are non-Muslim. So I think that we have to take the bull by the horns. Show some guts also, because this fear, we fear our own shadows in our countries, you know, and this has to be done. It's a battle of ideas, and we have to take this issue without emotion, with facts, logic, and wisdom. And at least we don't say that it'll change the situation overnight, but we can try to make a difference. And let's do it. And no long speeches, no rona dona, no whining, no cribbing. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Bullet points, tuck, and we'll do that. So, Ahmed, Brother Ursal, I look forward. I'm a fan of Turkish cuisine. Whenever I go there, I love the Mediterranean cuisine of Turkey and Turkish coffee. I look forward to seeing you in Ankara or Istanbul over a nice cuisine with a cruise on the Bosphorus in the post-pandemic world, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And long live Pakistan-Turkey friendship. And look forward. And the causes are the same, whether it's Armenian so-called genocide, Turkey, whether it's Rohingya, whether it's Palestine, whether it's Kashmir. These are similar causes, and we'll all face these separately, but we should all combat them collectively, inshallah. Okay.
Thank
you, Manish Saab.
Thank you very much, Senator.
For you for organizing it. And
thank you. It's always a pleasure to lead such kind of talks and conversation, and always we have your support. Yeah, thank you so much, Senator Mushahid Hussain Sayyid Saab, Chairman, Senate Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs Pakistan, and Lieutenant General Retired Talat Masood Sahab, geopolitical analyst. And thank you very much, Dr. Professor Ahmed Usal Saab. Thank you, Marine, for joining. And we also, I could see Reham Khan, yes, but she could not interact, unfortunately.
Which Reham Khan is that? The famous Reham Khan?
I don't know. I asked her if she is herself, but she didn't respond. And
Assalamu alaikum ji.
Walaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum, Mushahid Hussain Sayyid Sahab. Assalamu alaikum, General Talat Sahab. Miss you so much, General Sahab, and my condolences also. Not been in contact for a very long time. Belated condolences. And to Mr. Ahmed, Merhaba, and I hope to join you for some kahve in Istanbul fairly soon as well, inshallah. Just a very quick comment. Been listening very, very carefully to Mushahid Saab and to General Saab. And I just wanted to sort of very quickly pop in a comment about the importance of idea, which Mushahid Saab has very elaborately and very eloquently shown the panel today, as well as the audience. And I think that what has been happening in the last few weeks in Pakistan, in the US, and perhaps our reaction to the comments made about Muslims in general and Muslim governments around the world, I feel that there has been a problem with the wording. So the war now is on two fronts. Particularly, like General Saab said, it's not geostrategic, it's geoeconomic. So a wonderful suggestion by Mushahid Saab to focus on China friendship, because that's the way forward. If Pakistan and Turkey and other Muslim countries are economically strong, people will have to listen to us. And that is only possible through collaboration and cooperation. But coming back to the creative idea and the power of idea, the fact that the words used to counter Islamophobia are perhaps not sensitive, and these need to be looked carefully. What the Americans do really well is convey their narrative in a way which is subliminal. So we don't have to force our agenda down everyone's throats in a very obvious fashion, but we can do it in a way to promote our culture and our Muslim values. So I see that the Turkish drama series are very popular in Pakistan, and particularly with the new Ertugrul. I think viewership is up in excess of 1 million viewers in Pakistan. But I don't really think that Pakistanis need to learn to love the Turkish people. This is natural. I think that we need to perhaps promote the love for the caliphate or Muslim traditions in the wider world. And like I said, it needs to be done in a subliminal fashion. For example, the US narrative is very obvious through films which are about the Holocaust, for example, like the Schindler's List or Sophie's Choice, or things which you know are about the conflict or the tragedy. But there also the same narrative runs through the advertising campaigns, whether it's a fast food chain, it runs through romantic sitcoms. So it is given to people, to youngsters and children and the wider world in a way where they're not even aware of this. And I think we, the Muslim world, don't connect very well. And I think we need to promote the love of our Muslim values and culture to the wider world in a very subtle and pleasant and culturally sensitive fashion. So that's my very, very quick sort of, and I'm very happy, like Mushahid Saab said, happy to contribute as a Muslim, as a Pakistani origin, British Pakistani, in any possible way to promote a very shared and a noble agenda. So that's me done. I'm Raham. And yes, I am Raham.
Thank you very much. So finally, you got to know she is the popular Reham Khan.
Well, she's a famous Reham. Good.
Reham, I would request you to inbox me your number so that we could keep you in the loop for future initiatives. And a few more thanks, and that is Hamza Azhar Salam. Thank you so much. Shanse and Rabia also. I thank you for your presence, and thank you very much for being on the social media watching it. And I hope like it would help send across the message that we wanted to, and be part of the solution to develop a narrative against the so-called genocide, and be a part of the solution to the US and Turkey standoff. Take care of your good self and have a nice weekend. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz. Till next Saturday.